Hey all, Mason Menega here. Here's a cartoon that would make you think not believing in the Bible like Christian fundamentalists will ultimately lead you to atheism. You may think this is some AI art that someone like John Piper or some other internet theobro created, but it is actually a cartoon by E.J. Pace from 1922 called The Descent of the Modernists. Yes, this cartoon is over 100 years old. The panic about Christians not believing in the Bible the way fundamentalists do is as old as the dinosaur bones put in the ground to test your faith. Instead of modernists, now they call them deconstructionists. But is it possible to love the Bible even more after deconstructing? Or is it true that deconstructing your faith will ultimately lead to atheism? So today I'll be talking about why I love the Bible even more after deconstructing my faith. Before we jump in, be sure to like and subscribe and turn on notifications, and let me know what you think about the video in the comments. Also, these videos take a lot of time and energy to make, so if you like my content, be sure to support me on Patreon at patreon.com/Mason Menega. And if you enjoy my Twitter account, you can get a shirt or a sticker of your favorite tweet of mine at masonmenega.com/store. The first reason why I love the Bible even more after deconstructing was because it gained its rightful authority in my life. Many of us Christians grew up believing the Bible is the ultimate authority in our lives. So we thought the Bible had every answer for every possible question. The Bible was supposed to have answers for science, history, and even how to engage in politics. But many of us started to realize that a book that was written thousands upon thousands of years ago couldn't possibly answer every one of life's age-old questions, like, if Ken Ham didn't evolve from apes, why does he look like that? What Switchfoot album is the best one? And when will the God's Not Dead movies ever stop? So if the Bible can't answer every question of life, then there must be other kinds of authorities in our lives. I personally realized that the Bible wasn't the ultimate authority in my life when I accepted the fact that I watched more Fox News than I read the Bible. So Christians must realize that there are many authorities in our lives. But if the Bible isn't the ultimate authority in our life, that doesn't mean it has no authority in our lives. I think of the Bible like people. There are many people in my life. Some people I'm really close to, like loved ones and friends. And then there are people who I don't even know. And even some I wish I didn't know. The Bible can be like those people in our lives who we don't even know about, but the Bible can also be like the people in our lives who we are very close to. But even among the people who are closest to doesn't mean one has ultimate authority or sole authority in our lives. Each person who we love has shaped us in some way. And the Bible can be like this in our lives too. The Bible doesn't have to be the ultimate authority or sole authority in our lives for it to have authority. The Bible can still shape us even if it isn't the sole authority. And when I realized it could be one of many authorities in my life, I fell in love with it even more because I wasn't making the Bible something it didn't need to be. Have you ever felt overwhelmed when people expect too much from you, especially when you never asked for those expectations in the first place? That is probably what the Bible would feel like if it was a person with the way that many Christians treat it. So as you deconstruct and you recognize that the Bible is one of many authorities in your life, you may just fall in love with it even more. The second reason why I love the Bible even more after deconstructing is that the stories in the Bible inspired me even more when I realized how foundational stories are in human life. I mentioned earlier that many Christians want you to think the Bible is like a textbook that just answers every possible question. In fact, many Christian homeschool curriculums use the Bible like if it's a math, science, history, and social studies textbook. And if you get an A on it, you might get 20 kids and a Netflix documentary about how you raised an abusive child. But as much as learning math, science, history, and social studies are important, think about the kinds of things that have shaped you and inspired you most in your life. Was it a math textbook or a poem? Was it a dictionary or a song? Was it this Wikipedia page or was it this great novel? It is stories that shape us and inspire us far more than facts. So when Christians make the Bible out to be a fact book, it is probably actually hindering its inspiration more than if they focus more on the Bible being a book filled with stories. We are inspired by poems, songs, and novels of love, war, death, life, and so much more. And the Bible is also filled with all of those stories. The Bible tells stories of people of God loving, going to war, dying, and coming back to life. Stories connect to us in ways that facts cannot. Stories connect to us because we all have our own stories. Many of the stories in the Bible are our stories as well, including this one on being well endowed. When we read stories in the Bible, they can connect to the parts of us that make us most human. So when I started deconstructing and learning that I didn't have to understand the Bible to be a fact book, but a book filled with stories, it completely changed the way I related to the Bible. The Bible stopped becoming this textbook that was boring and lifeless, and instead it became a book filled with stories that inspired me, and it came alive. And even though many fundamentalists will claim the Bible is inspired, the Bible won't truly inspire you until it connects to what makes you most human. And for old Calvinist men, that might mean a bunch of boys calling you Baldy. So as you deconstruct and understand the Bible as a book filled with stories instead of facts, you will love the Bible even more because stories connect to what makes each of us human. The third and last reason why I love the Bible even more after deconstructing is that when I didn't just read the Bible, but actually learned about it, I began to appreciate the Bible and its messages much more. I grew up reading the Bible like I was told to, but the Bible didn't inspire me much growing up, partly because the stories in it were often confusing and they seemed very foreign from the world I lived in. And that's because in many ways, the stories in the Bible are very different from our world. This is why when American Christians say they have a biblical worldview, it's like, oh, so you have the same worldview as 3,000-year-old Middle Eastern people? So that's all to say we can't simply understand the different world of the Bible and its stories by just reading it. For example, we can't just read the book of Revelation and completely understand what that book is trying to do. The book of Revelation comes alive when you don't just read it, but you learn about it. And learning about the book of Revelation might help you from having horrible geopolitical politics. One of the first classes I took at my small Christian college was about the Bible and its history and context. And as much as the words in the Bible can be inspiring, the history and context of the Bible was perhaps even more inspiring to me. And when I went to seminary, I learned even more about these things. Learning about the history and context completely illuminated the Bible to me in a new way. I learned the kind of genre of literature that the Genesis creation stories were. I learned why calling Jesus Lord was a political statement. And I learned the historical context around homosexuality during Paul's time. And no, it did not have to do with two bros chilling in a hot tub less than 5 feet apart.
Two bros chilling in the hot tub 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
None of these things were that clear to me growing up just by reading the Bible. But learning about these things completely changed the way I understood the Bible. And it made me appreciate it so much more because of how much more complex the Bible actually is. And recognizing this complexity of the Bible helps us to avoid both Christian fundamentalism and atheistic fundamentalism. Many Christian fundamentalists and atheists both read the Bible literally, and many clearly are very uneducated about the context of the Bible. For example, many Christian fundamentalists and atheists insist that the creation stories in Genesis have to be understood literally, even though these stories were clearly poetry, which is not at all meant to be understood like it's a science textbook. Maybe because they interpret the Bible the same way, Richard Dawkins and Ken Ham can chill in a hot tub 5 feet apart. So as you deconstruct and you don't just read the Bible, but actually learn about the Bible, you may begin to appreciate its complexity and avoid interpreting it like fundamentalists. So there you have it, 3 reasons why I love the Bible even more after deconstructing. I love the Bible more because it gained its rightful authority in my life. Its stories inspire me more now because I don't take them literally. And I see it now with more complexity because I learned about the context of the Bible. So deconstructing the way you understand the Bible won't necessarily lead you to atheism, but hopefully it will lead you to what fundamentalist Christians fear the most, someone who actually loves the Bible. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and also tell me what you thought about it in the comments. This video is brought to you by my Patreon producers. If you'd like to become a Patreon producer, you can find more at patreon.com/Mason Menninga.